Hello everybody, we're the Geeks and the Giants. I am Menzo. This is my forever co-host John. Today we talk about another sci-fi movie. Where's he going? We'll never know. Anyway, another sci-fi movie from the 2010s, which is Looper, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Bruce Willis, Emily Blunt, and is directed by Rian Johnson, everybody's favorite Star Wars
director.
Star Wars director, of course, and Knives Out maker. Yeah, no one else.
Look. As long as he just doesn't touch Star Wars, everything's fine. I redact my statement on Knives Out. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And rewatching Looper, I'm just like, okay, continuity-wise, it's absolute shit, but it's just like, it's just such a vibe, you know?
Yeah.
Where was I going with that one?
I don't know what you post-apocalyptic vibe. Like, it's a very interesting setting. It's a very interesting story to it. Like, unlike Inception, where you're like, did you understand it? Yeah, I think. Here, I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, okay, as long as you don't get to the nitty-gritty of, the whole time paradox of, killing your grandfather or something like that.
Yeah.
Or killing yourself. As long as you take that part out and you just stick to the mindset that you have when you were watching Terminator Judgment Day, you're fine.
Yeah. I think this is also one of Bruce Willis's best performances in, the 2010s.
Agreed, because, after a while, Bruce Willis just, kind of declines when it comes to movie roles, because he is, the stereotypical, hey, I'm an action star, I'm gonna do, kind of corny military movies where he's the action guy.
Yeah.
Here, I'm bring in the drama. I feel it. I like it.
Yeah.
Good.
It's interesting to, you learn that crime syndicates, use time travel to their own benefit. So anytime they want to kill somebody, they just send them back in time to get executed. And, when they're done with you, they're like, alright, we'll send your future self back in time, and then you complete the loop, even though it's still a loop technically, because you're like, wait, I'm gonna get shot anyway by the end.
I love that. That is a thing. They all just agreed. Hey, this is the thing that happens within this community. That one day, just one day, to close, to cut all ties.
Yeah.
We might send old you back to the past so you get to kill him.
Yeah.
And hold on, you get a bonus.
Yeah. You get gold instead of silver, and you're like, wow, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
When you see the state of the place, you're like, does the economy still matter?
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I'll enjoy my Miata.
Yeah, Joe. Even Joe said Jeff Daniels' character is also from the future, and he took over the city. Any other city that would be impressive, but since it's this unnamed city, he's like, well, who cares anyway? You can run the city all you want. The economy's stagnant. All that matters is the loops, and everybody knows about loopers and the loops. Felt bad for Paul Dano when he saw his future self, and his future self tried to escape.
I love that scene though.
Yeah.
This is when you let your loop loose.
Yeah.
You know how fucking bad that sounds. It's not just you now. For sure you don't want to kill yourself. For sure the thought of it is just terrifying. But what happened to Paul Dano was just you know what? I would have rather just shot myself, my future self. I mean.
Yeah. Right.
You know, he's just this old guy is just running, losing fingers back in the future, and it's oh my god.
Yeah, it's not even a sound effect. It's just he looks at his hand, and the next second he's
gone.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck? His nose starts disappearing too. I'm like, wow, that's fucked up.
Yeah, he's running.
Yeah.
His just disappears. I was like, oh my god.
Right? They're just medically killing Paul Dano. I'm like, that's just fucked.
Yeah.
And you learn that in the future there's this character named the Rainmaker who's closing all the loops. That's why Bruce Willis goes back in time, because when they're trying to arrest him, they inadvertently kill his wife, and his wife is the reason why Joe has a better life for a couple amount of years, like he becomes clean, he's happy, and then the loop starts, and you're like, all right, there's no end to this.
Yeah, I like that was a thing. Like they showed us like parallels
Yeah,
of like what Joe can be,
yeah,
and I did like that part where he just like was just in a life of crime in Hong Kong instead of going to France or Paris.
yeah,
And yeah, she gets taken away, and Joe just like full on Terminator 2 with it. And I'm like, yes,
yeah.
yes,
Like as much as I love the sci-fi like action scenes, I do love that diner scene between Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis, because their dialogue when he's just like, "Why don't you get your shit together? Look what happens to us when we meet this wife," and he's like, "I don't care about that. I ain't me. How about I do you a favor? I'll never meet her. I'll avoid her."
like I'll never meet her. It's like, you son of a bitch. Yeah, that was a solid scene, and they both like had a gun under the table and stuff, like kind of deal. I was like, yeah, that's.
You learn that the Rainmaker is this kid who grows up to be the Rainmaker, and you're like, what unfortunate circumstances happened to you? And then you learn what happens to him. Like, as far as kid actors goes in like sci-fi movies, this is one of the best ones, not gonna lie. When I first saw this movie, I was like, is he gonna be annoying? Please God. And then I got really attached to him. I felt bad that he had these powers he couldn't really control.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson did a really good job with. I get it. It's not the most original idea,
Yeah.
but how he like just took it and just made it his own. I say he did a really good job. So I could really see the whole closing the loop, chasing your future self does sound a little Blade Runner-esque,
Yeah.
you know, and seeing in the future telekinesis becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've caught on Akira.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm
It's
like,
a bit more
okay.
coherent, Akira. Where like
yeah.
I understand what happens. I also love Emily Blunt in this movie. Like she's here for like a few, like literally the last half, but like she makes an impact as this mom who tries to raise her sister's kid because he killed her accidentally because he can't. Again, he has telekinesis that he can't control.
Yeah, it's actually her kid that her sister had to take care of, but since she's been
Yeah.
absent,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kid doesn't believe that that's his mom.
Yeah, because she's been an absentee parent, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
damn, like as if growing up in this world isn't tough enough for this kid. Like he has to live with his aunt, and then he kills his aunt, and you're like, shit, poor guy.
Yeah. By the way, this is like the first time I've ever heard of like somebody putting rock salt in shotgun slugs.
Yeah,
I was just like, I'd just rather not be shot by a shotgun.
right. Once you shot him the first time, I was like, so is that the end of the movie? That's a fucking shotgun.
Oh, loop closed.
Right? This movie gets dark too, like when Bruce Willis is hunting down the potential Rainmakers. I'm like, he's not going to come. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was a thing. I like it that it goes that dark. That's how far this man would go, just to stop. At some points, morality gets like weighed here, where you're like, yeah, it's a kid that hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
But if you give it a chance,
Yeah.
it's kind of like going back in time and stopping baby Hitler.
Yeah. And like by the end, Joe sees it all. He's like, I saw how far Emily Blunt is willing to protect her kid, and how far her older self is willing to go to avenge his wife. And like this poor kid is just caught in the middle and becomes this monster in the future. And you're like, damn, poor guy.
Yeah. So the man kind of just does like the hard decision here and just points the gun at it himself and unalives himself. And I'm just like, you know what? I feel like there's a very fitting ending.
Yeah.
Because like they both know where their future's going. It's not really the best.
Yeah. He's like, you know what? For the bigger picture, I have to sacrifice myself. And like it's a very poignant scene where she comes back and she basically thanks him without saying words. You're like, damn, this sci-fi movie is pretty solid and pretty heavy at times. But it's a very well-made sci-fi movie. I can see why Disney was so impressed that they were like, you know what? Why don't you have Star Wars for a bit? And then after that, they were like, damn.
I feel like it would have done well if they just gave it to him from the start. Not saying that, like,
Abrams.
yeah, J.J. Abrams is not worthy of the first movie. I'm just saying I feel like it would have been more coherent if they just stuck to one director.
Yeah, like it's fun. Oh god, that fucking franchise, that trilogy is fucking 10 years old now. At this
Yeah,
point,
dude.
it like hindsight is 2020.
I also remember watching it in theaters, and I'm just like,
The last,
I'm like, I still have a T-shirt from the day I watched that.
right? I still have my Kylo figure, but that's not about Star Wars. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe one day we'll retouch upon the sequels with some guests, some of our
Yeah.
newer members. But until then, going back to this sci-fi movie, I think there's a very well-made sci-fi dystopian movie, well acted.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk that much about Jeff Daniels. I think Jeff Daniels does the best job he does here. Like he's not here a lot, but when he's on screen, I'm like, wow, you're pretty good.
Yeah, like, I don't know if you've seen him as a bad guy before. Have
Yeah.
we?
The only movies I remember him from are like Dumb and Dumber, and the sequel.
Hey, come on, The Martian.
Oh, right,
Number
right.
2, like, good soundtrack.
All right, I forget he's
That-
like more. He was in like more serious roles towards like the latter half of his career.
Yeah, yeah, he was in really good roles, man.
Yeah, but yeah, what would you rate Looper?
I'll rate Looper. I'll rate Looper a solid 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. I love the references that, of course, they kind of harken back to with like the whole telekinesis and like, yes, it's very Blade Runner-esque, especially the vibe of it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis did an amazing job. Paul Dano, even though he was only here for a bit. Oh dear lord.
leaves an impression there for sure.
Yeah, and a new nightmare.
Yeah,
But other than that, like, yeah, I love how the story went. I really did. It was, even though they took like very familiar routes or very familiar like ingredients when it comes to sci-fi,
yeah.
it felt very original in of itself. Again, I kind of want to rewatch it after this video.
All right.
And I also love it that this movie ends kind of open-ended.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that watching it for the first time, that, oh, this kid can still be the Rainmaker.
yeah,
Yeah, like there's a good possibility. It could be stopped, but there's a good possibility that he could still just push through.
yeah.
Because they did say that, oh, he watched his mom die, and that's kind of when he snapped. And then, isn't like the sister, he thought that was his mom kind of deal. So I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Yeah, I only found out when I did this watch for this video, that, oh shit, this is actually an open-ended movie,
Yeah.
and it's up to interpretation of what happens next. So I don't know. Ryan Johnson did a good job in this one.
Yeah. I hope they never touch this movie like for a sequel.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Don't, like, if you want to do like an expanded universe where you're like, oh, what Blade Runner did, where it's like a completely different story or animated, go
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
Just leave this one alone.
Yeah, yeah. I'll give this a solid 9 as well. Like I think the acting is superb, the action is pretty great, and like the sci-fi elements when it makes sense. It's not like you're right with like The Last Jedi. You're like, why doesn't this connect to the other movie? But here it's its own standalone thing, and like Ryan Johnson follows the rules that he makes, and he's very consistent on that. And like
Yeah.
you just see why he's such a solid director when he's not handed something that was already completed or half baked the first time around. But yeah, solid movies, solid performances. Though yeah, I think it's pretty underrated too, which is a shame because I wish more people talked about this.
Yeah. This is a really good science fiction movie. Also, like, you get to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt have Bruce Willis' face. It was an odd adjust in my opinion, because I know him from like 500 Days of Summer, and like just seeing him in like what was it? Inception.
Oh yeah,
Like he had like Bruce Willis's brow and forehead. I was just like, There's an uncanny valley here.
Right? I was like, you know what? I am convinced, but it's gonna take a lot more like rewatches for me to be like, oh, yeah, it adds up.
Yeah, but you'll get used to it. That's not, just watch it. You'll get used to it.
Yeah. But yeah, well, that's our favorite. That's been our video on Looper. What's your favorite Ryan Johnson movie? Is it? Sorry, my words got jumbled.
Right.
Is it this one? Is it The Last Jedi? Why not? Is it Knives Out 1 and 2? Yes. Yeah, the new one's coming out this year. With Josh Brolin.
excited
And
for that.
yeah. But yeah, whatever it is, comment down below. If you want to see more of us here, please leave a like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. We're also on Spotify and TikTok. TikTok to see our best and funniest moments. Spotify to hear us on the go. And the Viriam Zoda's voices on TikTok and Ends Wolf and Letterboxd. Where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me at JohnJum_. On Instagram, it is my art account.
You good?
I caught a frog in my throat.
Alright,
Sorry.
it's fine. And until the next one, we'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Ciao.